Welcome to the Lend Academy podcast, session number 15. This is your host, Peter Renton, founder of Lend Academy. Today on the podcast, we have Emmanuel Marot. He is the co-founder and president at LendingRobot. That's one of the new breed of tools that are available for Lending Club and Prosper investors to automate their investing. And I actually met Emmanuel at the Lender conference last week and thought I would get him on the show to talk a little bit about his product, what it does, how it works, and why it's becoming popular with investors today. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Okay, welcome to the podcast, Emmanuel.
Hello, Peter. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So let's get started by just giving the listeners a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay. Well, as you can tell from my horrendous accent, I'm French.
Right.
My background is in finance. I did what in France we call a grande école. But I started my career in marketing at Apple. And after Apple, I left to create a series of startups or companies, mostly advertising agencies, web agencies, with every time a strong focus on emerging technologies such as virtual reality, mobile internet, and things like that. In 2006, I sold my previous startup, which was a mobile search engine, to Microsoft and moved to the Seattle, Washington area. Left Microsoft about a few years after that to work again in finance. I wanted to do some work in quantitative finance.
Okay, so when did you arrive in this country?
2006.
2006. So for the Microsoft deal, that's when you moved here.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. So you mean not being French in this industry is not necessarily a bad thing, as I'm sure you realize. And you didn't know obviously Renaud Laplanche at all. Had you made contact with him at all since coming to this country?
No, not at all.
Through the French community?
No, the French community is too big, I think.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so then you got interested in quantitative finance, and then when did peer-to-peer lending come on your radar screen?
So actually, as the company, the current company we have at LendingRobot, we started that in 2012, and with my partner, we were working on something very different. And but as soon as we started working together, he told me about his investments he was doing in Lending Club, and I was hooked. And right away, I wanted to try it because I thought immediately it was a great opportunity to diversify from other fixed income securities like bonds.
Okay, so then you started investing yourself, and when did you decide you wanted to create a tool? And I believe you created your tool purely just for your own investing initially. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Well, I think I wanted that tool about 24 hours after starting investing in peer lending.
Right. Okay.
And even if I was connecting on the platform like only once a week, it was already like a burden. And looking back, actually, a lot of stuff I've done in my career was trying to build or design algorithm to help with tedious tasks, and trying to automate stuff in a smart way. And so it was kind of logical for us to think like, okay, this is not a task for humans. Robots should do that, as software.
Right.
So we looked around, could not find something that was suitable for us. And we thought, let's just do a small script or something like this and automate that so we'll save time.
So you started doing that yourself, and obviously, it was working pretty well. When did you realize that you wanted to offer it to others and actually create a business out of this?
Well, there were several steps. The first one is once we began automating and monitoring the loans, we realized that actually a lot of loans, we could not even see them. Because if I was connecting on Sunday afternoon, many loans, they were gone. So I had no idea they were there before.
Right.
So in a way, as soon as we started running our own software, we realized it was kind of more valuable than what we thought originally. And we're like, wow, that's really saving a lot of time and allows us to access new kind of loans. So the next step was like, maybe some other people will be interested. So we just put a web page with a waiting list. And at the beginning, we did it almost like on a whim. It took me like about 12 seconds to come with the name LendingRobot.
Right.
And so it's kind of, this one is available as .com. Okay, let's register and put a wait list. And so we put that, and we get hundreds of people in a couple of days, actually, who left their email address. So we're like, okay, maybe there's an interest. So we slightly modified our software so we can have other users as well. And we invited a few people. And the first feedback we had, that was like late August last year, early September. And the feedback we had was fantastic. I mean, people were like, wow, I love it. Some people wrote to us by email, like it changed immediately the way they perceived investment in peer lending. Others tell us, well, now that I can automate, I'm adding an extra $200,000 to my account.
Right.
So we're like, okay, we may be onto something here. And that's when we really decided to focus entirely on that.
Okay. And so for the listeners who aren't aware, can you explain exactly what LendingRobot does?
Sure. So LendingRobot does two things. It simplifies decisions and it automates execution. Simplify decisions because investing in peer lending is not that easy. Well, since peer lending is kind of removing the banks between borrowers and lenders, somebody still have to do this job of credit officer and choosing which loan to finance.
Right.
And I think like Lending Club and Prosper, they do a very, very good job at scoring and giving grades and interest rates. But as you know, you can have like big differences in returns if you choose well. So the first thing that LendingRobot does is help people decide which kind of loans they should invest in, based on the loan characteristics. And we provide several tools for that. Some of them are free. Some of them are part of the system. Like, for instance, it's possible to follow what's the most popular loans. We recently introduced our own scoring mechanism to try to calculate what would be the return. That's the first thing. The second thing is automating execution. So once some investment rules have been defined, LendingRobot will 24 hours a day monitor how much cash is available, when new loans are released for investors on the market, and submit orders on the behalf of the investors. Now, that's something that automates all this investment and then connects to Lending Club or Prosper and submits the orders on the behalf of our users.
Okay, so when did you start on Prosper? That was I know you started on Lending Club.
I think it was in February.
Okay, so it's been a little while now, and then. So you're obviously you're using the API obviously to automate the investing. What would you say is the advantage of using your API versus say someone going with Lending Club Prime, which is now called just Lending Club Automated Investing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think at one end of the spectrum, you get the simple and pretty good automated tools. You get also the automated quick invest from Prosper. That are tool like allows you to like save time, but are not very sophisticated. At the other end of the spectrum, the ultimate automation is to give your money to a fund and get people managing that.
Sure.
It's more expensive, but you can expect better returns because maybe their selection process will be more sophisticated. Well, LendingRobot is a bit of an in-between, and we try to mix the best of both worlds. So you get the kind of sophistication that you can have with something which is way more complex than the simple rule that says put 30% in grade B, for instance, that you can have with the existing automated tools. But at the same time, we aim to have a system which is cheap enough for us to maintain, and so we can offer like fees that are very, very low compared to managed funds.
Right. So, and let's just talk about that a little bit. You recently became an SEC registered investment advisor, and could you explain the reasoning behind that? And why did you decide to do that?
Well, there's two reasons. The first one is that we have to do it, and the reason we have to do it is, well, I said previously, one thing that LendingRobot does is help people with decision, and to help people with decision, at one point you're coming with your recommendation. Okay, so maybe some people may not call that recommendation, and they can put like big disclaimer or something like this, but if we're straight, it's an advisory business, at the point where you tell people, look, this is how much you can expect with that kind of rules or criteria, and this is what you should do. That's acting as an investment advisor. And so the right thing to do is just to register being an investment advisor. And moving forward, we really want to further help people, in this kind of what kind of loans should they invest in, which are the important criteria and stuff like that. So that was very important for us.
Right. So you're actually someone can even you can even talk to somebody and talk them through. Now that you're an advisor, you can say, talk to people about their situation, whether they want to invest in A grade loans or F grade loans. You can kind of talk them through that now that you're an investment advisor. Is that part of what you were intending to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, today it's possible for new users to come on LendingRobot and click on a big button that says fully automated investments, and that will be based on our own scoring mechanism.
Right.
So they don't even have to decide, if they want to lend money to people in Nevada or Oklahoma or whatever.
Right.
It's way simpler for people to do that. Now, the second reason I think it's very important in that ecosystem that we build and we maintain and we're worthy of the trust for both our users and for the marketplaces themselves.
Right.
And being a registered investment advisor, there's a lot of compliance rules and stuff like that, which basically were designed to protect investors. And I think it's good that we have to comply with those rules. There's no question about it. We get what's called the fiduciary duty, which means that we have a legal obligation to always do the right thing for our clients.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point. And I think you from my knowledge, you are the only one in the space who is an investment advisor right now who's offering a tool like this. So I think that's a nice differentiator for you. And, it's true. We really want to protect investors. The worst thing that can happen to the space right now is to have an unscrupulous operator come along and do something that's bad for investors. So I think I take your point there. I think that's a great move on your part. So let's just talk about Lending Club and Prosper. I mean, you're really you're piggybacking. You've created a service that is totally dependent on these two companies, at least today. I mean, what's your relationship like with both companies? Do you speak to them often?
Yeah, I think our relationship is excellent, and every time we go and see them and talk to them, I'm always enchanted by both the enthusiasm and the professionalism of all the people there. They're having a tremendous success, both of them, and they really deserve every bit of it. And it's important for us to have a very good relationship with them. And the way I see LendingRobot, it's a bit like those little birds on the back of rhinos. Yep. And it's I think in biology it's called mutualism or something like this. And in software industry they call that an ecosystem or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for us that we continue to build values that actually is good also for the marketplaces.
Right. Yep, that's a good point. So are you doing this full time right now? Do you still have your day job? Where are you at?
Oh, the day job is LendingRobot.
Okay.
It's I would say it's more than full time, and it's several people working full time on that. I think back in maybe a few years ago, you had a hobbyist started to create stuff around that and providing tools, and I have an immense respect for the people that actually build libraries and says, hey guys, why don't you install that on your own server and stuff like that. I think with the market growing bigger, more people investing, peer lending becoming like going to new kind of assets and new kind of loans, it's necessary now to be like a pro and spend a lot of time. You have to be full time. I think like all this regulation and compliance stuff, it has a cost.
Sure.
And it's kind of difficult, I think, for an amateur or bright or whatever bright they are to comply with that and continue that. So I think it has to be a full-time job. Well, I guess it's like for you, Peter, like, I don't think like Lend Academy or Lend It is something you can do only on weekends, right?
Right. No, I have 3 full-time jobs now.
Yeah, exactly.
Lend Academy, Lend It, and then the Lend Academy investments business, that we started up there. They were all quite demanding. I mean, obviously Lend It, we're recording this just a few days after Lend It. It's, that's in the past now. So I'm not as focused on that particular piece right now, but yeah, I agree. I think there's so much happening in this space. I think if you're not full time, it certainly is not, it's going to be harder for you for sure. But obviously not everyone has that luxury. I should acknowledge that there's a lot of people out there who would love to be full time, but they can't afford to leave their day job until they have a decent income coming in. So anyway, let's switch gears a little bit. So let's talk about the service itself. And you launched it. You had a waiting. You put up your email list. Now you've been going for several months with your paid service. Can you share, like, how's it been going? How many clients do you have? Are you adding clients on a weekly basis? Where are you at?
Well, it's growing. It's growing fine. We are. I don't know how detailed I can be about what we manage and number of clients because of this registration thing.
Sure.
What I can say is, like, we have several hundred clients. We get new people coming every day. It's growing nicely. We're surfing on a wave which is huge anyway. So both we can. I think we increase our market share regularly because we get a lot of people. Very, very, very few people actually, when they begin to try LendingRobot, they walk away from it.
Right.
We are blessed enough to have like a ridiculously low churn, and also we want to offer something which is like very not only affordable but very easy to try. There's no setup fees, there's no minimum fees, there's not even exit fees. So some people can come and they're like, yeah, okay, I invest like $500 through LendingRobot, which will probably cost them something like, I don't know, like half a cent or something like this. And we're happy with that. It's fine. So that definitely helps in people, like kicking tires and beginning to use it and after that growing.
So let's just talk about the fees for a sec. Can you detail what the fees are and how you make money?
Yeah, sure. Well, so in this industry, we're kind of regulated as well as how we can we can charge people. Like, for instance, we get some user says, "Why don't you charge me on the money on the performance?" They say, well, no, we cannot do this.
Right.
So what we do is we charge on the asset under management, and we charge 45 points per year. So now what we call asset under management, it's a remaining principal of the loans that we invested in on the behalf of the user.
So it's not their entire account.
No, because imagine you have somebody who has $1 million already on Lending Club.
Right.
And he comes to LendingRobot and begin using it. The first day, he owes us absolutely zero because we're not managing anything for him.
Right. That's good. That's great. That's it's sort of that makes it a lot more palatable, I think, for people to give it a try, as you say, because it's not really going to cost them much to give it a try for a couple of months.
Yeah, we have one user, for instance. He's having a quite sizable amount in his Lending Club account, and he likes to invest manually. Okay, but this guy is lucky enough that he goes in vacation a lot, and when he goes into vacation, he uses LendingRobot.
Right. And
when he comes back, he said, "No, I'm done." So he's actually paying us very, very, very little. That's fine for us. The other good thing with this business model is if we submit orders on somebody's behalf and the loan is repaid, we don't charge anymore because the principal drops to zero.
Right.
If we invest in a loan and the loan defaults, well, we don't charge anymore because the principal goes to zero. So I think we get something which is very well aligned with the interest of our users.
Mm-hmm. Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So what about your competitors? I mean, there are a lot of people out there doing this now. What do you think? We got obviously, Nickel Steamroller has an offering. You've got PeerCube and there's several. They're like Interest Radar. What makes your offering different?
Well, we try to mix both high level of sophistication, and we're lucky enough to raise some money and have the capacity to spend serious time and energy on both having like top-notch performance for the submission engine and providing the scoring mechanism, which is pretty sophisticated and will keep continue improving. And at the same time, we aim to do something which is pretty simple to use. Usability is something important for us. We hope that people have better stuff to do in life than going on the control panel, and tweak knobs in all the time. What we do with LendingRobot, we aim to do something which is both very simple to use, but at the same time very sophisticated. Another thing is we are focused entirely on individual investors. So everything we do on our platform is to provide better services, better features, and better accessibility to them.
Okay, fair enough. And so you're obviously you're doing this full time. You've raised money. You're 100% committed to this. What are your goals? Where you want to take this?
Well, I think in the next 12 months or something like this, the peer lending space will be very, very exciting. There's tremendous growth, and so short term, our objective is to be the absolute best tools for retail investors on Lending Club and Prosper. That's what we are entirely focusing on. Longer term, I think peer lending is here to stay. Maybe it will be called marketplace lending or direct lending or something like this. But it just so makes sense. Yep. It will be here, and it will be in many different lending stuff. Now the thing is, peer lending has some very unique characteristics. Like this, if you compare it to the stock market, let's say in the U.S. stock market, there's about 5,000 public companies with a sizable market cap. Peer lending is like suddenly you have a stock market with hundreds of millions of companies. It's a very different system. Mm-hmm. So it means there's a lot of stuff that will need to be automated. The ordering, buying, selling, the pricing, how you select loans and stuff like that. So longer term, what we want to do with LendingRobot is provide this kind of automation to the peer lending industry.
Right. So because right now you're focused pretty much exclusively on the individual investor, right?
Yes, that's right.
And is that something that you want to maintain, or are you trying to go then compete with the people like Orchard and Notex 360 for the institutional? What are you, or do you want to maintain your retail focus?
Well, I think from a strategy perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try to compete against people that are already doing a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. And the important thing for us is really to provide the best tool for retail investors.
Yep.
Now, if we can do other stuff around that targets somebody else, why not? We'll see if we have opportunities or not. But really, that's the focus for us. So I would say that between, like, if we get a hedge fund coming tomorrow and say, hey guys, I want you to develop this for me, or we spend another 4 weeks developing something that will be useful for our users, we'll go with the users.
Right. Okay. That's great to know. And I think, there certainly is, there is room there for somebody focusing on the individual investors. I think there's a lot of people that are focusing on the institutional now because there's just been so much interest in that space. And there's obviously, they have a lot of these hedge funds, they're willing to spend a lot of money on services. So I think it's great. And there's certainly going to be room for someone to focus on just the retail investor. I shouldn't say just the retail investor, of course, the retail investor, because, I'm one of those as well. So, before I let you go, I wanted to just get your thoughts about the Lending conference. That's where, we met for the first time just last week, and wanted to hear how your experience was. Was it worth the trip for you, and what were some of the takeaways for you?
I was flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted, right?
It's like I was expecting. When I talk to friends about peer lending, they're like, Lending Club, Prosper, what's that? And so going to this place in San Francisco where you get more like 900 people coming from all over the world, that was mind blowing. I was really, really, really incredibly impressed. And it's a great conference. It's fantastic for me to be able to put faces on people that I've talked to before, exchange email, like you, like the bloggers. Mm-hmm. I was able to discuss with clients. And it's great to actually meet people and say, hey, by the way, I'm very happy about LendingRobot I'm using since several months. And what about this and that? There's potential partnerships that are interesting. So it's definitely, for us, it's a must, like, the day we are not at the Lending conference, it means we change business, something like that. Right.
Okay, so we can expect you in New York next year then.
Most definitely.
Okay, you should also come over to London as well in November. That's when the next one is. But I know it's not really your target market, but eventually it'd be nice to have this open, obviously, to international investors. But right now, that's not the case. Anyway, this has been great, Emmanuel. I appreciate your time here. I think wish you all the best of luck with LendingRobot. I think you've done a great job in building something that is becoming an integral part of the ecosystem here. So, thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Peter.
Okay, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, there you have it. I think it's great that there are services now out there for investors like this that can, automate their investing if you so choose. You're more than welcome to still invest manually. I know plenty of people who continue to invest that way. But LendingRobot gives you options like that guy he talked about that wants to do it manually but wants to go on vacation and keep his money invested. He can just go and use LendingRobot. And for those people who, like myself, who really want to be completely automated, then tools like LendingRobot are beneficial. And it's just great now we have some choices. A couple of years ago, there was nothing available, and now we have lots of different choices. So I think that's great. On that note, we will close off session 15, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks a lot.